He woke up slowly. Not with fear. Not with pain. That was the first strange thing. The human's eyes opened little by little, as if his body did not want to rush back into the world. Warm light touched his face. It was soft, not sharp like station lights or alarm flashes. The air felt clean. Too clean. It smelled faintly sweet, like flowers he did not know. He did not move at first. He listened. No sirens. No shouting. No metal shaking. Only silence. That silence made his heart beat faster. He tried to remember how he got here. His thoughts came in broken pieces. A corridor filled with smoke. Red warning lights. Screams in a language he barely understood. Then, fire. Heat. A small shape crying near a broken door. His chest tightened. The child. He opened his eyes fully. The ceiling above him was high and curved, glowing with soft lines of light that moved like slow water. This was not a medical bay. It was not a prison either. The bed beneath him was wide and smooth, covered in silver fabric that felt warm to the touch. He swallowed. "This isn't human," he whispered. His voice sounded small in the large room. Then he felt it. A presence. Not close enough to touch him, but close enough to be felt. The kind of presence that made the skin on his arms tighten. Slowly, carefully, he turned his head to the right. He froze. An alien woman sat beside the bed. She was tall, even while sitting. Her skin shimmered in shades of deep blue and pale silver, like a night sky caught in ice. Long dark hair fell over her shoulders, held by a thin crown that glowed faintly. Her eyes were large and calm, glowing softly like distant stars. She was watching him. Not with anger, not with hunger, with patience. Next to her sat a small alien girl. The child's hands were folded in her lap. Her feet did not reach the floor. Her eyes, wide and curious, were locked on the human's face as if she was afraid he might disappear if she looked away. The human's breath caught in his throat. An alien queen, his mind screamed. And a child. His body tensed, ready for pain, for chains, for guards to rush in. But nothing happened. No weapons rose. No alarm sounded. The queen did not move. She did not speak. She only waited. The human slowly pushed himself up on his elbows. His body felt weak but not injured. No burns. No deep pain. Someone had healed him. Carefully. "Am I under arrest?" he asked. His voice shook, even though he tried to keep it steady. The queen's eyes softened slightly. She did not answer right away. Instead, she looked at the child beside her. The girl leaned forward just a little, her fingers tightening together. Finally, the queen spoke. "No," she said. Her voice was deep, calm, and clear. Every word was careful. "Controlled. You are safe." Safe. That word did not make sense. The human laughed quietly, a short sound full of disbelief. "I don't think humans usually wake up safe next to alien royalty." The queen tilted her head, studying him like he was a strange question with no clear answer. "You woke without fear," she said. "That surprised me." He frowned. "I was afraid. I just didn't feel pain." "That is why," the queen replied. "Most beings wake in fear of what they lost. You woke thinking of what you saved." His chest tightened again. He looked at the child. The little girl did not smile. She did not hide. She simply watched him with a quiet, serious look that felt far too old for her small body. "I remember carrying someone," he said slowly, "through fire." The queen nodded once. "You carried my daughter." The words landed heavily in the air. His eyes widened. "Your daughter?" "Yes." Silence returned, thick and heavy. "I didn't know," he said quickly. "I swear, I didn't know who she was. I just heard her cry." The queen studied him closely, as if searching for lies. She found none. "That," she said softly, "is what troubles me." He blinked. "Troubles you?" "You did not ask who she was," the queen continued. "You did not look for guards. You did not demand protection. You shielded her with your body." The human looked down at his hands. They were shaking now. "I didn't think," he said. "I just moved." The child shifted then. She leaned a little closer to him. Her shoulder brushed his arm. He froze, afraid to scare her. The queen noticed. Every guard in the empire would have noticed. But the queen did not pull her daughter away. She would not release your hand while you slept, the queen said quietly. Even healers could not calm her. The human felt something warm press against his fingers. The child was holding him. Slowly, carefully, like she was afraid he might fade away. His throat tightened. If this is punishment, he whispered, it's the strangest one I've ever seen. The queen's lips curved, just slightly. Not a smile, but close. This is not punishment, she said. She stood. The room seemed to bow with her movement. This, the queen continued, is the beginning of a question my empire has never faced before. The human looked up at her, heart pounding. What question? The queen's eyes glowed softly as she looked down at him and her child. What does a life owe to the one who saved it, when that life belongs to a queen? The silence that followed felt deeper than space itself. The queen remained standing. Her height made the room feel smaller, yet her presence was calm, not heavy. She did not look down on the human like a ruler looking at a subject. She looked at him like someone trying to understand a puzzle that refused to fit any rule she knew. The human slowly sat up more, careful not to disturb the child still holding his hand. I didn't mean to cause trouble, he said. I was just trying to get out alive. She was in the way. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly. Not in anger, in thought. She was not in your way, the queen replied. You placed yourself in hers. That made him quiet. The child turned her head toward her mother, then back to the human, as if comparing them. Her grip on his fingers tightened a little. The queen noticed. Tell me, the queen said, her voice low and even. When the fire closed behind you, why did you turn back? He swallowed. The memory came back clearly now. I heard crying, he said. I thought it was a trapped animal at first. Then I saw her. She was alone. Everyone else was running. You knew the station was collapsing, the queen said. Yes. You knew staying meant death. Yes. The queen waited. He sighed. I didn't think someone that small deserved to die alone. The words were simple, almost careless. They hit the queen harder than any blade. Around them, unseen guards held their breath. No one had ever spoken to the queen like this. No one had ever answered her questions without fear. You did not ask her name, the queen said. He shook his head. You did not ask her species. No, you did not ask what she was worth. He looked up sharply. She's a child. What kind of question is that? The queen felt something shift inside her chest. Among her people, worth was measured in rank, bloodline, and purpose. A life was never just a life. It always belonged to something greater. But this human, you are aware, the queen said slowly, that saving had changed the balance of power in this system. He blinked. I am. Yes. If my daughter had died, what would have followed? He stared at her, stunned. I didn't know that. I know, the queen replied. The child moved again. She climbed closer, resting her head lightly against his arm. Her eyes closed for a moment, like she finally felt safe enough to rest. The human did not move. His body was tense, afraid that even breathing might break the moment. You do not treat her like royalty, the queen observed. I don't know how, he admitted. That is what makes it dangerous, she said. And rare. He looked at her. Dangerous. To us, the queen said. Not to her. She turned her gaze to her daughter. She has not trusted anyone since the attack. Not even me. The human felt a knot form in his chest. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I didn't mean to take your place. The queen shook her head once. You did not take anything. She chose. That word echoed in the room. Chose. Choice was something the queen understood very well. She ruled an empire built on obedience, law, and order. Choice was allowed only within strict limits. Yet her daughter had chosen a human she did not know. A human with no rank, no power, no command. The queen sat back down slowly, her movements careful, controlled. In my empire, she said, those who save a royal life are rewarded. The human stiffened. I don't want money. Or titles. The queen raised an eyebrow. You refuse before knowing the reward. Yes. That answer made several advisors shift uneasily behind the walls. Why? The queen asked. He hesitated. Because rewards change things. I didn't do it for that. For what, then? He looked down at the child again. Her breathing was slow and steady now. I think, he said after a moment, I did it because someone once did the same for me. The queen's eyes sharpened. Explain. When I was young, he said, my colony failed. Systems broke. People panicked. A stranger picked me up and carried me through smoke. I never learned their name. They died getting others out. The queen said nothing. He didn't ask who I was. The human continued. He just ran. Silence stretched. The queen finally spoke. And you became that stranger. The human did not answer. He could not. The child stirred, then looked up at him. Her eyes met his, full of quiet trust. She made a small sound. Not a word. Just a soft noise that felt like relief. The queen felt her chest tighten. In all her years, no council vote, no battle victory, no throne ceremony had ever moved her like this moment. You are not a soldier, the queen said. No, not a noble. No, not trained to protect royalty. He smiled faintly. Clearly. The queen leaned forward. And yet, she said softly, my daughter sleeps beside you. She straightened. This changes how I must act, the queen declared. The human looked up, uneasy. That sounds serious. It is, she replied, because for the first time, I must choose between what my empire expects and what my child needs. The child pressed closer to him, and in that quiet room, the queen of 1,000 worlds realized something terrifying. The human had already become important, not because he saved her daughter, but because he never tried to own that fact. The queen stood again, slower this time. Her eyes moved from the human to her child, then toward the far end of the chamber where shadows its silent guards and advisors. With a single lift of her hand, she dismissed them. The door sealed shut. For the first time, they were alone. You deserve the truth, the queen said. The human's shoulders tightened. Truth, spoken by a ruler, was rarely gentle. My daughter, the queen continued, was not meant to be on that station. He frowned. Then why was she there? Because I made a mistake, the queen answered. That alone shocked him. Queens did not admit mistakes. She wished to see the outer colonies, the queen said. She wanted to know how common people lived. I allowed it, against advice, against fear. The queen's jaw tightened. That choice gave our enemies an opening. The human remembered the chaos now more clearly. Armed figures. Explosions placed too precisely. It was an attack, he said. Yes, the queen replied. Planned, timed, meant to send a message. Her voice dropped. They wanted to break me through her. The child stirred at the sound of her mother's voice. The human felt her fingers tighten again around his. She saw things no child should, the queen said quietly. Fire, death, betrayal. The human swallowed. She didn't scream when I found her. She was silent. The queen closed her eyes for a brief moment. That silence came after. He looked down at the girl. She was awake now, watching the queen with careful attention. She has not spoken since the attack, the queen said. Not to healers, not to me. The human felt a weight settle in his chest. And then, the queen continued, a human shields her with his own body. He shook his head slowly. I didn't shield her. I just ran. You stood between her and fire, the queen corrected. That is shielding. He had no answer to that. You were burned, the queen said, poisoned by smoke. Your heart nearly stopped. He blinked. Then why am I fine? Because we refused to let you die, the queen replied. That surprised him more than anything else. You used royal healers on me. Yes. For a stranger? For the one who saved my child, she said simply. The human laughed quietly, rubbing his face. Back home, no one important would ever notice someone like me. The queen studied him. That is another difference between us. The child shifted again. She lifted her head and looked at the queen, then back at the human. Slowly, carefully, she raised her free hand and pointed at his chest. The queen's breath caught. She is responding, the queen whispered. The human froze. Did I do something wrong? No, the queen said softly. You exist. The child made a small sound. Not quite a word. Not quite a cry. The queen knelt beside them, her regal posture breaking for the first time. She lowered herself until her eyes were level with her daughter's. My star, the queen said gently, using a private name. Can you tell me? The child looked at her mother, then shook her head. Then she looked at the human. Her finger pressed lightly against his chest again. Safe, she whispered. The word was broken. Soft. Barely there. The room seemed to stop breathing. The human's eyes widened. She talked. The queen's hands trembled as she reached out, stopping herself just short of touching her daughter. Yes, she said, voice unsteady. She spoke. The child leaned fully against the human now, resting her head against his shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the universe. The queen stood slowly, her expression unreadable. You have done something my entire empire could not, she said, without trying. The human felt uncomfortable. I don't understand why. That is because you see her as a child, the queen replied. Not as a symbol. Not as a future ruler. The queen turned away, pacing slowly. If word spreads, she said, many will demand to use you. Scholars, generals, politicians. I don't want that, he said immediately. I know, the queen replied. That is why they will fear you. He looked up sharply. Fear me? You change things without force, the queen said. That is more dangerous than power. She stopped in front of him. My advisors believe you should be sent away, she said. Your presence disrupts order. The child tightened her grip at the word away. The human felt it and spoke before thinking. I won't hurt her. I believe you, the queen said. That is not the problem. She leaned closer. The problem, the queen said softly, is that she may need you. The human stared at her, heart pounding. Need me how? The queen straightened, her royal mask slowly returning. That, she said, is what I must decide before the council demands answers. She looked down at her daughter one more time, then at the human. Rest, the queen commanded gently. Tomorrow, the empire learns what kind of human you are. The doors began to open. The human lay back slowly, mind racing. As the queen walked away, he realized something terrifying. He had saved a life without knowing its cost. And now, that life might bind him to a throne among the stars. The chamber was quiet again. Too quiet. The human lay still, staring at the glowing ceiling while soft light moved slowly above him. He knew he should rest. His body felt heavy, calm in a way that did not feel natural. Alien medicine, he guessed. Beside him, the child did not move. She was still there. He turned his head carefully. She sat close now, much closer than before, her shoulder touching his arm. Her small fingers were wrapped around his hand like she feared the space between them. He did not pull away. He barely breathed. Guards stood at the edges of the room, silent as statues. Their armor reflected the light, sharp and cold. Every one of them watched the human closely. And every one of them watched the child even more. The human swallowed. It's okay, he whispered, not sure who he was speaking to. The child did not answer, but she did something no one expected. She leaned in. Slowly, carefully, she rested her head against his shoulder. The room reacted instantly. Weapons shifted. Guards tensed. A low warning hum filled the air. The human froze. He did not raise his hands. He did not speak. He did not move. He simply stayed still. The child sighed softly, like someone finally letting go of fear. A soft voice cut through the tension. Stand down. The queen had returned. She stepped forward, her eyes sharp but not angry. One look from her made the guards lower their weapons. The hum faded. She chose, the queen said quietly. The human glanced at her. I can move if you want. No, the queen replied. You will not. He blinked. You will remain exactly as you are, she continued. Any movement must be her choice. The human nodded slowly. Understood. The queen studied him for a long moment. Most beings, when surrounded by power, tried to control it, tried to please it, tried to use it. This human did none of those things. Do you know, the queen said, what it means when a royal child forms a bond? He shook his head. It is rare, she said, and never accidental. The child shifted again, turning her face slightly toward him. Her eyes were half closed now. She trusts you, the queen said, with her safety, with her silence. The human's chest felt tight. I didn't earn that. You did, the queen replied. You just did not ask for it. The queen stepped closer. She reached out slowly, placing her hand near her daughter's back, but not touching. My star, she whispered. Are you afraid? The child shook her head. Do you feel pain? Another small shake. The queen hesitated. Why do you stay? The child opened her eyes just enough to look at her mother. Then she looked at the human. Warm, she said softly. The word was simple. It shattered the queen. She straightened quickly, turning away for a moment to steady herself. Among her people, warmth was not physical. It was emotional. It meant safety. It meant home. The queen faced the human again. You gave her warmth, she said, without meaning to. He looked down at the child. I didn't know she was important. That, the queen said, is why it matters. A quiet alarm chimed in the distance. Advisors were gathering. The council would demand answers. The queen exhaled slowly. They will not like this, she said. The human frowned. What will they do? They will question your presence, the queen replied. Your influence. I don't want influence, he said quickly. The queen almost smiled. I know. She raised her hand. The guard stepped back, giving space. For now, the queen said, you will remain here. The human hesitated. As a prisoner. As a guest, she corrected. Under my protection. The child's grip tightened again, as if she understood the words. The queen looked at her daughter, then back at the human. You are not bound by law, the queen said. You are bound by something far older. What? He asked quietly. Trust. The queen turned to leave. At the door, she paused. If you break it, she said without looking back, my empire will end you. The human swallowed. And if I keep it? He asked. The queen looked over her shoulder, her eyes calm and dangerous. Then, she said, you will have changed the future of two worlds. The doors closed. The human sat in silence, the child resting against him, guards watching from afar. For the first time since the fire, he understood something clearly. This bond was not built on power. It was built on stillness. And in that stillness, an empire began to shift. The council chamber was vast. Its ceiling rose like a night sky made of crystalline light. Symbols of old victories floated in the air, glowing softly. Rows of alien nobles and commanders stood in silence as the queen entered. At her side walked the human. He felt every eye on him. Some looked curious. Some looked angry. Some looked afraid. He wore no armor, no rank marks. Just simple clothes given to him after he woke. That alone felt like a challenge to the room. The queen took her place on the high platform. She did not sit. The human stood below her, exposed, surrounded by power that could erase him with a word. The child was not present. That worried him. Begin, the queen said. A tall counselor stepped forward, his skin dark and marked with scars of old wars. This human violated royal security, the counselor declared. He touched the royal heir. He remains alive without sanction. Murmurs spread. The human clenched his fist but said nothing. He saved her, another voice argued. That must count. It does, the first counselor replied. But that does not place him above law. The queen raised her hand. Silence returned instantly. You speak of law, the queen said, yet you forget its purpose. She turned her gaze toward the human. Why did you return to the fire? she asked, now loud enough for all to hear. The human took a breath. Because someone was crying. Laughter rippled through part of the chamber. A child's noise moved you more than orders, a noble sneered. Yes, the human said simply. That ended the laughter. You knew she was royal, the queen pressed. No, you knew saving her could start a war. No, the queen turned back to the council. He acted without knowledge, she said, without reward, without fear of consequence. The scarred counselor scoffed. That makes him reckless, not noble. The queen's eyes hardened. No, she said, that makes him honest. A low tension filled the air. In our history, the queen continued, how many wars began because power protected itself instead of the innocent? No one answered. How many times, she went on, have we punished those who reminded us what we forgot? Still silence. The queen stepped forward. This human did not bow, she said. He did not beg. He did not ask for protection. She gestured toward him. He did not even ask to stay. That surprised the council. I wish to return home, the human said, speaking for the first time without being questioned. I never wanted this. Gasps echoed. You refuse royal favor, a noble demanded. Yes, he replied. The queen felt something tighten in her chest. The council erupted in argument. This is dangerous. He weakens authority. He influences the air. The queen raised a hand again. I have decided, she said. The room fell silent. This human will not be punished, the queen declared. Several councillors shouted at once. He will not be exiled, she continued. More shock. And he will not be owned by this throne. The chamber froze. The queen's voice remained calm. I name him protector of the royal child. The word struck like thunder. That title has not been given in centuries, someone cried. He is human. Exactly, the queen replied. She looked down at the human. You will hold no political power, she said. You will command no armies. The human swallowed. You will only protect her, the queen continued, as you already have. The scarred counselor stepped forward angrily. This breaks tradition. The queen met his gaze. So did letting a child burn, she said coldly. The counselor fell silent. The queen turned back to the chamber. Humanity has been judged weak, she said. Yet this human stood between fire and a future ruler. She raised her voice. Strength is not obedience. Strength is choice. The council slowly bowed. The human stood frozen, heart racing. Protector. He had never protected anything greater than himself before. The queen stepped down from the platform and stood before him. This is not a command, she said quietly. You may still leave. He looked up at her. Then why offer this? Because my daughter chose you, the queen replied, and I will not undo her trust. The doors opened behind him. Freedom waited. The human hesitated. And for the first time, the council realized something unsettling. The queen had given a human the power to refuse her, and that choice might shape the empire more than any decree ever had. The corridor was long and quiet. Soft lights followed the human as he walked, showing him the path toward the exit gates. No guards blocked him. No chains followed him. Freedom had never felt this heavy. His steps slowed with every turn. I can leave, he told himself. I should leave. This was not his world, not his throne, not his war. At the end of the corridor, a large door waited. Beyond it was a transport ship that would take him back to human space. Home. He stopped. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. He turned. The queen stood there. She wore no crown now, no armor, just simple robes, dark and quiet. For the first time, she looked less like a ruler and more like a mother carrying too much weight. You are free to go, she said. I know, he replied. She studied his face. Then why do you hesitate? He looked down. Because leaving feels wrong. The queen nodded once, as if she had expected that answer. My daughter asked for you, she said. His heart tightened. Is she? She is calm, the queen replied, until she reaches for you. The silence between them stretched. I never wanted to be important, the human said quietly. That is why you are, the queen replied. He laughed softly. Back home, I'm no one. The queen stepped closer. You are someone where it matters. A small figure appeared from behind her. The child. She walked slowly, carefully, as if unsure of the ground. Her eyes found the human instantly. She stopped a few steps away. Her hands clenched into small fists. The human knelt without thinking, lowering himself to her level. You're safe, he said gently. Her eyes filled with emotion she could not name. You go, she asked. The words were broken, fragile. The human felt his chest ache. I might. Her lips trembled. She shook her head. No. The queen closed her eyes briefly. You see, she said softly. She does not command you. The human looked at the child. I don't want to hurt you. She stepped forward suddenly and wrapped her arms around his neck. Guards rushed forward. The queen raised her hand. They stopped instantly. The child pressed her face against his shoulder, clinging to him with desperate strength. Stay, she whispered. One word. That was all. The human closed his eyes. In that moment, he understood. This was not duty. This was not law. This was a choice. He looked up at the queen. If I stay, what will you ask of me? The queen answered without hesitation. Nothing you do not choose. He swallowed. No chains. No. No throne games. No. No lies. The queen met his gaze. Only truth. He looked down at the child still holding him. Slowly, carefully, he returned the hug. I'll stay, he said. The child relaxed instantly, as if a storm inside her had ended. The queen exhaled, a breath she had been holding for far too long. You should know, she said, voice steady but honest. This will not be easy. He nodded. Nothing worth doing ever is. The queen stepped closer. Then understand this, she said. From this moment, leaving will no longer be simple. He looked up. Because of politics. No, she replied. Because of love. The word hung in the air, heavy and dangerous. Not romantic. Protective. Human. The queen turned away, signaling the guards to stand down. The exit doors behind him closed silently. Freedom had not vanished. He had simply chosen a different kind. And somewhere deep within the empire, something ancient shifted. Because for the first time, a human had been invited to stay, and chose to do so, not for power, but for a child who asked him not to go. Time passed, not in grand ceremonies or loud victories, but in quiet days and softer nights. The human did not sit on thrones. He did not speak in councils unless asked. He stayed close to the child. As promised, he walked with her through gardens that floated above the palace. He listened when she spoke in short, careful words. When nightmares came, he stayed until sleep returned. Slowly, she smiled again. The empire noticed. The queen noticed first. She watched from a distance as her daughter laughed in the presence of a human who never raised his voice, never demanded obedience, never treated her like a symbol. He treated her like a child. And that changed everything. The queen began to change too. She sat less on her throne and more on the steps beside her daughter. She listened more. She commanded less. Her advisers whispered, worried that softness would weaken her rule. They were wrong. Under her new way of ruling, rebellions faded. Worlds calmed. Treaties held longer. For the first time, other species spoke of the empire with respect instead of fear. And at the center of it all stood a human who never asked for credit. One evening, the queen found him in the garden, watching the stars with her daughter resting against his side. You were meant to be a passing moment, the queen said quietly. He smiled faintly. I was planning on it. And yet, she continued, you stayed. For her, he replied. The child looked up at her mother, then at him. For us, she corrected. The queen felt her throat tighten. You changed my empire, the queen said. He shook his head. I just stayed still when it mattered. The queen understood then. Humanity did not conquer the stars with weapons. They did not bend empires with force. They changed them by standing between fire and the innocent and refusing to move. The queen placed her hand over her heart and bowed. Not as a ruler, as a mother, as a being who had learned something new. Far beyond the palace, the story spread of a human who could have ruled, but chose to protect, of an empire that learned strength through care, of a child who trusted again. And whenever the queen was asked when her empire truly became great, she gave the same answer: the day a human stayed. Not because he was commanded, but because he was kind. The end.